Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of the Daily Stand-Up. With no further ado, let's get started. I'm Lee Henson, president and founder of Agile Dad, and today we're going to discuss the role of the product owner. Is it important? Why is it important? What do they do? And most importantly, should that even be a full-time job? We'd like to begin by talking about some of the things that we hear from teams. So when we go out and interview teams and discuss the product owner role with them, many times we hear some anti-patterns or things that the product owner might not be doing to meet the needs of the team or the organization. So I'm going to give you just a list of a few, maybe the top 3 or 4 items that we hear that teams or other individuals come up with when we discuss the product owner anti-patterns. The first one has to do with the product owner only being an order taker. Meaning, it's one of those things like a drive-up window when you're going to pick up fast food. Welcome to the product owner. Can I take your order, please? Yes, I'd like 3 of these, 5 of these. Please drive around to the second window. The product owner says yes to everything, and they never say no. They're always just ready and willing to take orders from anyone who's willing to give them the order in hopes that the team can complete one and all of the things that are being requested. Next, we have product owners that say that everything is important, and they only focus on having a vision of what they want to do without any strategy. In other words, there's no context to the why behind the what. You try to pin them down and say, so tell me, out of all the things we could possibly be working on, where should we be focusing our attention? And the answer you get is, we need you to equally focus on everything so that we can get it all done. And I got news for you. That mentality might work in certain instances, but majority of the time, there's no way a team can spread themselves that thin to give everything proper attention. The final one, I guess, is when the product owner is assigned us as a proxy product owner and we have no authority. In other words, Tommy, I trust your team. You're the technology group, and I know that you're going to do a fantastic job. So I want you to go ahead and just do the best you can. Give it your best shot. And we quickly discover that, in these situations where the team has no authority, even if they make the right decision, it could be deemed the wrong decision. Quite interesting to say the least. Next, I want to discuss this product owner balancing act. I know it sounds kind of funny when I say it that way, but the product owner has 3 different attributes or values that they have to balance. The first is strategic priority for the organization. Whatever we're trying to build, is that the highest priority item, or is that the thing that's the most important for the organization? And I think many times we get the word priority mixed up with importance. It's very rare for a product owner to ever ask anyone to do anything that's unimportant. So I think what I'm trying to say here is instead of associating the word priority with importance, we should be associating the word priority with urgency. Out of all the important things that we have to do, which of these might be the most urgent? Which of these might be the one that we should begin on today as a team? The second thing that they have to balance is technological feasibility. Does it just make sense to build this? Is it going to provide us a long-term technological feasibility, a infrastructure or architecture solution that's going to help us to accelerate and to build things with better foundation and with better working order? Is it going to impact our product or project in the future? Is it going to allow us to sunset something that's older? Is it going to allow us to integrate and use API functions to integrate with other technologies? It's important for us to have a good understanding from a technology perspective. In addition, of course, the final one, they need to keep their thumb on the pulse of the consumer. They need to know all the consumers' wants, needs, whims, and desires. And this doesn't even take into consideration any regulatory, legal, compliance, any of those type of requirements that they need in order to, further achieve the balance. So, in short, the role of the product owner is often the most underestimated role. It is by far the most difficult in the entire Agile process. In numerous sessions, I've coached and verbalized my definition of the product owner, and I've heard a number of people ask me if I've ever taken the time to write this definition down. So with no further ado, this definition goes out to all of you who asked for it, so this is to adhere to your special request. The product owner is a person solely responsible for implicitly understanding the wants, needs, whims, and desires of the end consumer. They do this by facilitating conversations with support about the things the consumer may be struggling the most with, and with trainers about new thoughts or ideas the consumer may be thinking. They also host focus groups where they record data they discover about the current product they're working on, as well as enhancements for upcoming products. This individual is also responsible for understanding all the business acumen behind why a product was built, whom it was built for, how and where the product is used, and when it entered the marketplace. They need to understand the return on investment for the product, as well as the strategic value the product holds for the organization. This lucky individual also needs to have a pure understanding of how well their product works and with what other products it integrates. They also need to understand what many other products do and how they relate or integrate to your existing product. They also need to fully understand the software development lifecycle in order to best determine the life expectancy of a core product. Is it brand new? Is it emerging or sunrising or sunsetting? How many versions of hardware or software do we need to support forward or backwards, etc.? This person needs to fully understand the technological feasibility of the product. They need to be able to quickly assess requests and determine if they're actual requests for enhancements or defects that might require more immediate attention. With all this information, it's expected they'll maintain full upward visibility and be a pure representation of the end consumer to the sponsor and a representation of the sponsor to the teams that'll be working on the project. They're expected to report with 100% accuracy at risk of losing their jobs if at any point they're incorrect, and they're solely responsible for creation and maintenance of a stack rank product backlog, a release plan, and at minimum 1-year roadmap. As if that wasn't enough, we expect for the product owner to have certain skills. As my good friend Napoleon would say, the product owner has to have certain skills. What kind of skills should a product owner have? Well, they need to be able to identify key markets and customers, define a product, establish a vision and a roadmap for how we're going to achieve the vision, define, manage, and maintain a product backlog, drive and quantify business value, create user stories, be prepared with details, set crystal clear acceptance criteria, convince the customers they need to buy and investors that they need to invest, and be the ultimate communicator. They also have to have certain personal qualities. They need to exhibit emotional intelligence, collaborative skills, the ability to say no. They need to be able to empathize with customers and work towards removing impediments. That's not just a Scrum Master's job. They need to deal with conflict management, communicate difficult decisions, motivate teams, understand a product lifecycle. They need to live by the 80-20 rule, where they understand that 20% of what they build is used 80% of the time. Did I mention that they have to be a good communicator? They also have to have certain attributes. They have to have presence. They need to be available during planning and whenever the team requests. They need to make sure that they avoid conflicting meetings and email and phone messages during meetings. They need to be fully attentive and present both physically, emotionally, and mentally. They have a deep understanding of the voice of the consumer. They need to work with a group of analysts to understand internal and external consumer needs. They need to hold focus groups, conceptual layouts, design planning meetings, and make sure they can articulate in stories that are conveyed back to senior management, the leadership team, and the teams that will be building the product, that they have a clear understanding of the needs of the end consumer. They also need to be respectful of the team in the process. They need to understand the team's needs and understand how Scrum works and how Agile impacts, and they need to make sure that they are making decisions that clearly illustrate that they are supportive and respectful of the team and the process. They need to have a just ask me attitude. There's nothing worse than a product owner that always sends you to someone else to get the question answered. If they have a just ask me attitude, it's important that you feel comfortable going to them and asking them for help or telling them what you need to be successful. Because in the long run, the product owner has a just ask me attitude is the one who's going to win every time. And finally, they need to treat things just not like it's just another project on their plate. They need to treat each product or each project they're working on with dignity and respect and treat it equal so that everyone who's committing can feel attached to the solution, so they can feel like they're part of a much bigger buy-in, that they're integrated into whatever the product is, and it's not just something you're kicking off to have something in flight. Now, in order to make this happen, obviously a single person can't fulfill all those needs. It's important for us to recognize that the product owner role is difficult and that very few people can do all of those things all of the time, not to mention for more than one product in many cases. It's important that organizations have people who fulfill roles of business analyst, someone who understands implicitly the voice of the consumer and can bring that information back to the product owner so that the single product owner can make qualified decisions. Functional analysts who understand strategic awareness and readiness, who meet with leadership teams frequently and often and understand the needs of the organization and the direction in which we're trying to pull the product or service. Third and finally, they need to have a technical analyst on board. This could be someone who represents the interests of the team and the interests of the organization from a technological perspective. This could be an enterprise architect, a team lead, a dev lead. It could be anyone, various different titles. Don't get hung up on the titles. The titles are irrelevant. You just need to look for people who fill those responsibilities and make sure that they're present and available on each of the products or projects that we were just now discussing to the product owner so that they can form sort of a product ownership group, keeping in mind that there's still a single product owner to make the final decisions. Well, I hope you found that information useful. And as always, if you have any questions, concerns, or you're trying to find a good, strong coach or someone to come out and do certification or non certified training, we at Agile Dad are always here to help, and we'd love to come into your organization and help you raise your business agility to the next level. As always, stay safe, stay well, stay agile. Take care. This is Lee signing off for Agile Dad. Have a good one.